So people, set reasonable expectations. I'm more worried about where my views come from than necessarily the total number. If I'm an Ohio lawyer, I'd rather have 1,000 views in Ohio than 1 million in Los Angeles. Doesn't really do me that good. Looks cool. It's a vanity metric. So, think about those things when you're doing videos. I think is what a lot of people kind of sell themselves short of how well they're doing. I think a lot of times people are doing maybe better than they think.
Great point. So I want to go back. So your current firm now, I did want to touch on this, so you started it with a partner. And so that's a question I get a lot, should I go by myself? Should I do a partner? What was your thought process in going out with a partner versus just saying, you know what, I can do this?
Yeah, I mean, I knew I could kind of do it. I'm a bit of a social person, I think. I didn't want to just be alone. You don't know if you're going to grow. I do think, and me and my partner are very different. People, personality, and everything, skill set. But we do kind of agree, like, where me and him align a lot on is kind of on the money thing. Like, we're both pretty generous people, I think.
Welcome to the Founding Partner Podcast. Join your host, Jonathan Hawkins, as we explore the fascinating stories of successful law firm founders. We'll uncover their beginnings, triumph over challenges, and practice growth. Whether you aspire to launch your own firm, have an entrepreneurial spirit, or are just curious about the legal business, you're in the right place. Let's dive in.
Welcome to Founding Partner Podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Hawkins. This is a podcast where I get to interview founders and owners of law firms to hear about their journeys and hopefully learn some lessons that they have, or at least some things that they have learned all along the way. And hopefully I and you, the listener, can learn from those as well. So excited about today's guest. Today we've got Josh Hodges, who is a plaintiff's personal injury lawyer out of, I'll call it the Cincinnati, Ohio area. I'll let Josh fill us in exactly where it is. But Josh, welcome to the show. Why don't you introduce yourself, tell us about your firm and where you guys are.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, I mean, it's Cincinnati area, but I will draw the distinction. We're in the city of Hamilton, Ohio. People here, we got our own little city up here. It's just one county north of Cincinnati, so about a little bit closer to Cincinnati than I am to Dayton, but we're in between the two. And that's where I started. We do personal injury. We have 6 lawyers. I think our team total is about 26, 27 people right now, growing fast. That number's been going up slowly, not so slowly some years. Yeah, been going, this week actually is I think it was like yesterday is the 7 years we've been in business as partners. Nice. We were attorneys before that. Yeah, I mean, I went to law school a little bit later. I worked in a lot of just random blue collar jobs and ended up getting a job at the DMV. I gave driving tests to kids. I did all sorts of stuff when I was going to undergrad at night. So I didn't become an attorney until I was 32, and then I got a job in big law. A big firm had like 500-600 attorneys, did civil litigation there, and then 2017 left there, went out on my own for about a year and a half, and then in 2018, about halfway through, me and Scott teamed up and started doing just the personal injury focus here in Hamilton. It was our hometown, so I knew I needed some kind of catchphrase or tagline or nickname or something, but I didn't want to be something cheesy like some of the people have, even though it works. No offense to anyone, but I wanted something that like my uncles wouldn't make fun of me for, I guess, but I needed something you can remember. So I went with the hometown lawyer. It was kind of like, memorable enough without being too, anything they could make fun of me too hard for. So that's what I stuck with. And then it seemed to work. As we've branched out into other towns though, I had to kind of rethink, how I'm going to brand this, because I'm not in my hometown in every town, obviously, but we kind of just try to treat them all as if, because we're in multiple areas, try to treat them all as if, I care about them all the same, and try to.
America is your hometown.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, everyone needs a hometown lawyer, kind of is what's one too. But
yeah. Well, cool. I want to unpack all that stuff. There was a lot there. So, so let's go back. So law is sort of a second career for you, and I have found I took a year and a half off, but I did odd jobs, but I did not have a career before the law school.
Yeah.
And most people just go straight through. I have found, it's not always this way, but I have found that the ones that had sort of a career before seem to come out and hit the ground running a lot faster than those that sort of went through straight from undergrad to law school. What was your experience like?
I think
having a career and then sort of having to stop and go back to law school and then start over?
Yeah, I don't know if I ever really had a career. I worked a lot. I got a job when I was 14. I had all kinds of jobs, but not one of them I'd say that was my career. I worked at the DMV for a few years. That was the longest, but none of them ever felt like I was going to stick there forever. So, I guess in my mind, I worked long enough to have a career prior, but I was going to undergrad at night. So I hadn't graduated college is the reason I didn't start law school for so long. It just took me a while to get through undergrad at night. But I do, and I felt like I was behind when I was in law school. People, everybody my age was already an attorney if they were going to be, or a lot of them were. But I do think what you said, when I got out, I do think I hit the ground running a little quicker and kind of got after it a little bit faster than some of the people I went to law school with. And I think I've thought about that a lot, why that was. I think part of it, like when you look at an attorney, they've been an attorney 20 years, they got experience, they got their stuff together. Part of it's the 20 years of legal experience is important for sure, but I think it's also just 20 more years of being alive is part of it. And now how much of that equals out, I don't know, but I think, a guy's been an attorney 40 years, he's a smart lawyer. Part of it's just that he's 60 something years old. And because a lot of the law is just like, experience in life. So I think, people my biological age when I graduated had already been lawyers 7 years, but I think the people I was graduating with, they're in their 20s. I didn't think I was necessarily equal with them, even though we both had no legal experience. I had kids. I had a kid, and I'd owned real estate, and I'd done other things, and I was just older. I think people are more likely to hire you if you don't look like a kid. So I mean, I was still young. I was 34 when I started the firm, relatively, but I wasn't like a kid. I could talk to someone that was in their 50s, and they, I look like a full grown up. So I got hired on cases quicker, I think, than I would have if I'd have been 22 or 3 or whatever, 4 or 5, whatever people get out of law school. Yeah, so I think I've been trying to catch up, I guess. I mean, it puts a little chip on your shoulder, too. You're behind, or at least I felt like I was. So I need to go extra hard to catch up to people that are 42 like me, where they're at in their career, I think.
It's funny. There's this saying I've heard somebody say, chips on shoulders equals chips in pockets. So not a bad thing.
No, it keeps you going. I mean, I kind of always, it's like the trick you play on yourself to keep yourself going, I think. You should always have some sort of chip going, I think, even if it ain't that serious. But I do have some chips on my shoulders, and I put them there myself. And no one else ever put them there. I mean, I think you do it to yourself, but I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing either. I mean, it can be if you let it weigh you down, but I think it took me a while to kind of like blossom and find, I was definitely a late bloomer, but, I kind of find my footing, what I like to do and what I was good at. And I've kind of like leaned into that as hard as I can now and try to, keep growing and keep learning and, bring some people along with me is kind of, part I'm really enjoying now as I got more lawyers working for us and we've seen other people kind of find, their footing and stuff in the law. It's kind of fun.
So, I think there is something there with the, sort of, I mean, you are older, so you have a little more gravitas for a client versus somebody like me that took a while for me to grow out of this baby face. I had to lose my hair to get out of it. But so you have that advantage. And I think I want to talk about sort of your, I call it your blue collar beginnings, looking at your bio, you worked in factory jobs. I mean, you did a lot of stuff. And I imagine for a consumer facing type practice that you have now, that really helps you connect with your clients, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think it does. I mean, I know it does. I think blue collar people, especially people that haven't went to college and they went to high school, maybe haven't even got through high school, a lot of them. And they just like, elite people, Ivy League people have, certain ideas about those types of people. Blue collar people have certain, stereotypes of attorneys, of us and people in suits, and it ain't always good. And I think trying to cut through that in real life and in my marketing has kind of always been one of my goals. And I knew I could more so than maybe other people because I sound like them. I can talk about things in my past that may resonate more so with them than I could. If I was trying to do some finance job talking to big fancy people, I might have to figure out a way to get through. I think I could get along with anyone, but I knew my background was more suited to consumer facing than it was being a big corporate lawyer. And I was in big law, and I liked that, and I didn't hate it, and I think I could have done good there, but I kind of knew that just my heart was just dealing with everyday people. It's where I'm more comfortable, and it's more fun to me. And I know a lot of attorneys that are maybe third, fourth generation lawyers might not be as naturally good with those types of folks. So that's what drew me to do it in my hometown. And my hometown was having kind of a resurgence. It was an old factory town. We're right in the Rust Belt, man. Like everyone my age's grandpa worked in the factory here, and then they all shut down in the 70s and 80s. And our town was kind of depressing when I was coming up, like a lot of towns in the Midwest. But somewhere along the line, when I was like going through law school, I started looking around town. It was kind of on the upswing, and I wanted to be part of that. I think it's a really good time to be in towns like this. A lot of them in Ohio are finding their, kind of late bloomer or whatever, me like kind of like having to refine themselves and reinventing themselves. And I think it's a good place to be in business, in my opinion. I like big cities. I like going to them, but that's just not where I need to be in business. I'd rather be out kind of in a small town where maybe it doesn't seem so sexy to be in, but real estate's cheaper and rent's cheaper and people need lawyers out there too. And that's just where I know that's my niche. I found my niche where I need to be.
Well, yeah, I want to get into that, but yeah, for sure, because it's very interesting. But before we get there, so you went big law. I guess first thing is sort of where, like, did you go to a big city? What city? And why did you go the big law route? Was it because it was they gave you an offer and they're paying big bucks, or
basically? I mean, I graduated high school. I didn't take high school seriously. I just didn't care. I got good enough grades to play sports, and that's about all. As long as I didn't get in trouble, my mom wasn't on me. My brother got a little more trouble than me, so she was on his butt a little bit more than me. I didn't get in trouble, but I didn't get good grades. But I just didn't try. I'd do good enough, if I need to try hard on a test to get me up to passing grade, I would do that. But, I just kind of, I was bored. I really hadn't found any passion, and it wasn't, and a lot of guys in my family didn't go to college, so it wasn't like the thing to do. I just figured I'd go catch a job as soon as I was 18, which is what I did. So I think I graduated high school with like a 2.2, and then I started going to college, kind of petering through. It took me like a decade, but during that decade of going to school at night, I started becoming a better student, taking it more seriously. I got older. I had a kid. And by the time I graduated college, I was a pretty good student. I was well into my 20s. And then when in law school, I did really well. So it was like, as the school should have got harder, I started doing better. And I got a job in big law offer. And basically the people at my law school that do the job posting, I mean, they have incentive. I mean, they want someone from their school to get a big law job. And they're like, you got to take that, So I kept, and the pay. I mean, I'd never made more than, I think I made $35,000 a year when I was at the job. And, before, so I never made more than about 30. I think I was making 38 grand, and then I obviously get offered a pretty good amount of money to work in big law. It was a firm out of Cincinnati, but they have offices all over the Midwest and I think in the South now. And they had kind of a satellite location in my county, which made it even easier. So I didn't even have to drive downtown Cincinnati. It was like 15 minutes from my house. So it was like the perfect place for a big law for me. And I worked there for a couple of years, but I just kept getting calls from random people that I knew that I was the only lawyer they knew. Like, hey, I got a DUI, or hey, I got hit by a car, whatever it was. People don't understand that like attorneys kind of specialize in something. And I would just tell them, I can't take that case. I'm in government litigation or whatever. They're like, what does that mean? And I just kind of knew I wouldn't starve if I was like keeping it in my mind. Like I was sending cases to other attorneys. Like I figured if I actually, and I wasn't even trying to get this business. If I tried hard, I probably could make a go of it. So that's what I did. It was 2017.
So what finally pushed you? There's a lot of people. I mean, you talk to them, I'm sure I've heard it where they're like, yeah, one day I'll do it. Or they say, man, I wish I could do what you did. But for whatever reason, they just don't take the step and jump off and do it. What led you to do it?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't have a perfect answer for it. Obviously, I don't know why other people don't. I'm not in their brain. But it is scary. I think part of it is just I kind of grew up. I wouldn't say I'm like dirt poor, but I was definitely like on the broker side of things compared to most lawyers. Like I lived my grandma; she was on food stamps. We didn't have a lot of money, but it wasn't like a bad childhood all the time. Like I've been kind of broke, and I was still kind of happy. So I think I was never scared. Like I think some people, if you come from more upper middle class and you got a 150 grand job, being broke is really scary to someone who's never been broke. And now being broke to me would suck, but it ain't as scary because I've already been there before. And so I think I have a kind of a higher tolerance to that because I know that I was happy when I was a kid. I'm kind of a happy person. Like I wake up in a pretty good mood most of the time. And if I'm rich, I'll probably be happy. And if I'm dead broke, I'll probably be happy too, as long as that's not going to really drive it. It was more like but I am competitive. So I want to win. So I want to build up and have a real good firm just to see if I can, more so than money. So I think some people don't leave big law because they're scared they might not do well money wise or make a little less. So I wanted to make the jump just because, I knew I wasn't getting younger. I was always antsy too. Like in big law, you're like seventh on the bench to get in there and do something interesting. And I was older. I was like, man, I'm going to be 45 before they even let me do anything cool, and I just didn't want to wait that long. And I thought that I could do better. I mean, really, I just kind of had some confidence that I'd built up. Took a long time, but I kind of knew, I deep down knew I could figure something out. I didn't know quite what it was going to be, but I kind of knew I was going to be okay. And I'm lucky I did it because my wife had a job at the city, just a basic, job. It wasn't a great job, but enough to where we wouldn't starve, and she had benefits. about 9 months, not even a year after I quit Big Law and started my firm, we had a second child, and my daughter had really severe genetic disorder. My wife lost her job, had to take care of her. So I lost the money I thought, the little bit of money she was making and the benefits, I lost all that. So then I was just all me. And if I would have stayed another year in Big Law, which I was considering, like, hey, wait one more year, pad my savings a little bit more, I never probably would have done it then, because I wouldn't.
Wow.
Yeah, so if I wouldn't have left in 2017, I don't know if I would have left in 2018. I don't know. Maybe I hope I would have got the gumption to do it, but I can't say for sure. It would have been a heck of a lot. It was scary when I did it. It would have been a lot more scary when your daughter's, sick, and she's doing way better. I mean, she's doing great, like way better than the doctors ever thought. But my wife's never worked since then. Put the pressure, but pressure is good.
Glad your daughter's doing better.
Yeah, thank you, man. She's doing great. I mean, they told us that she might not walk or talk, and she does all that. She goes to regular school. But yeah, I was sitting in the hospital, like working with a guy. I found a guy on Upwork in Pakistan to build me my first website for my first firm here. I didn't have hardly any money, and I was sitting on the floor of the Children's Hospital down in Cincinnati while we were building the little website to build this firm. So I mean, it wasn't from easy beginnings, but I think sometimes the best things are built kind of that way. We've been through some tough times, and we'll have some tough ones coming in the future, I'm sure, and you deal with them as they come.
Yeah, I can relate a little, although I was at a firm, but I have twins that are 15 now, and our daughter was born with cancer, and we went through a lot of shit for a number of years, and it was, they give you the parade of horribles, but she's actually, we got past all those. She's doing great.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Yeah.
So yeah, I know it's tough. Now, I did not start my firm in the middle of that, so that's a whole other element. But so you've got a partner now. Did you start your firm with a partner?
Yeah, a different partner though. I started a firm with a buddy of mine from law school. We did that for about a year and a half, and we were doing pretty good, but it just didn't work out. And I wanted to come back to Hamilton, kind of do PI, and he wanted to do something else. So I was with him for about a year and a half, and then I transferred up there. I was doing that in Cincinnati, and then I moved the office to Hamilton, and teamed up with a different partner here in 2018. We've been together since then.
All right, so let's talk about that before we get to your current firm. So the first one, you were doing, I guess, big government litigation or whatever.
Well, the real big law firm, yeah, it was a little bit of everything, but I was on the zoning litigation team. Okay. So that's anything with land use usually. Sounds boring, more boring than it is. It was actually kind of fun sometimes.
Yeah. Well, you start your firm with your friend. What were you guys doing? Like, what was the law that you did?
He was an immigration lawyer already, and I was helping him kind of get clients for that. So I was kind of good at getting people to hire. So no matter what it was, I mean, that's what I'm kind of good at. And so I was helping him get immigration clients, and I was helping him some on that. So that was like most of our focus, but I was doing like a lot of times with immigration, there's like a criminal aspect. So I was doing that, and I was doing some personal injury cases because I had civil litigation experience. So anything kind of with court, I was doing. He was doing more of the paperwork for the immigration, like the filings and stuff. But we were a brand new law firm, so I was doing a little bit of everything. I did a couple divorces. You got to kind of do what you can early on. But I was getting good at getting cases, and I was getting cases that were too difficult for me even to do in different avenues. So I was co-counseling with other attorneys, finding older attorneys that knew how to do a big felony case or a bigger PI case, and was learning from them. And then I had done law clerk in a personal injury plaintiff's firm in law school. So I always kind of had that back in my mind as something I like. I didn't like billing, like the actual practice of keeping the hours kind of not up my alley. So then, when me and my first partner were kind of like deciding to go different ways, I was like, I'm just going all in on PI because I know civil litigation and I knew some PI, and I was just going to go full in that. And my partner, he'd been a lawyer about 12 years before I teamed up with him. He was just a true solo, and he had done some PI. So I just kind of convinced him, let's just go full on focus on that. And we've been doing that ever since.
All right. So before we get to your current firm, you said you're good at getting clients.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. So, every lawyer, every law firm, you got to get clients. I mean, You're not going to survive if you can't do that. So if you're good at it, then that's golden. So I guess the first thing is, really, why do you think you're good at it, and how did you get them?
I mean, I've got them all kinds of different ways. I mean, any way that's ethical, I'm not going to break the rules, but I think why I'm good at it, I don't know. People, I like people, I think people trust me, pretty quick, and I keep their trust. I do the damnedest to do the right thing always. That's after though, but I think they feel that maybe. I can't really, you'd have to ask them, but I've always done pretty good at getting them early on. And then when you get in PI, it's cutthroat. I mean, it's a lot of marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So then I had to figure out, okay, people hire me when I talk to them, but how do I even talk to them when I'm trying to do this? PI is a whole nother, that's a different avenue, a different thing entirely. So then you get good at, I learned about digital marketing. I read, I think, every book you can think about it, and follow every podcast, every lawyer podcast under the sun. I listen. If they're talking about marketing, I'm listening to them. I go to conferences. Then I started really, we were doing all right. And then I knew social media I had to do better. And I didn't quite get that. And I didn't want to get good at it, really. I didn't really enjoy it. I thought, that's for younger people. I'm old or whatever, older than I didn't grow up with Facebook. I didn't want to do it. But I really paid a lot of attention to people I thought were doing good and tried to put my own spin on it and started doing videos begrudgingly. Really, I didn't want to do it, but I felt like I needed to do it. And I owe it to obviously my family, but the people who work for me to make sure we got cases coming in. And I wanted to do as well as we could. And I knew doing a bunch of videos is probably the way to do it. And I started doing videos about 5 years ago, and I've done thousands. I mean, probably 5,000 short form videos about all sorts of things, law, food, local events, whatever it is, and just try to build a brand to help the firm.
So what do you do with the videos? Yeah, YouTube channel. You put them on all the platforms. What do you?
Yes, I started really doing well. I had Facebook and YouTube and everything, but I started really doing well on TikTok for whatever reason. Would have been the last one I thought I'd be good at, to be honest. But during the pandemic, I started posting on TikTok and it started taking off. I do legal content, but most of my content's not legal. It's about, behind the scenes being a lawyer. Sometimes it's just talking to my wife while she's cooking. Those are the ones that do the best. I have a videographer. I hire him and we go out together and we highlight other people in our communities that we serve. Like we call it the around town with the hometown lawyer. And we do basically free commercials for nonprofits and little mom and pop businesses all over Southwest Ohio. I've done hundreds of them. And I go out and I meet the person. It's usually a kindred spirit. They're in business. I can understand. It's scary to start a bakery. It's scary to start a law firm. It's scary to, start anything, And so I like people that are out there, running businesses in small towns. And a lot of them don't have marketing budgets. And PI firm, once you start doing well, you hit some cases, you got a little bit. I put 20 grand more toward pay-per-click, or maybe I could spend a few grand highlighting some other people every now and then. I think long term, for one, I know it's more fun and I enjoy doing that better than spending more money on Google clicks. But I think long term, that's where I can set myself apart from. I'm never going to outspend the big guy in town or the Morgan & Morgan. I mean, it's impossible. But I can out Hamilton them. That's what I tell people. If a lawyer comes and does more hustling in Hamilton, Ohio, then I'll tip my hat to them. They'll deserve to win then. So that's the only thing a small firm, a small guy or gal in a small town can do. You can be the most hustling attorney in your town and do as many good things in your town as you can for other people. And social media is a good way to do that. You're not going to win in Google all the time. Mm-hmm. You can win in your neighborhood and then expand.
Well, you made a couple really good points there. One, lots of things in marketing work. Lots of things. And if you're going to do something, you might as well do something that you enjoy and have fun doing. So that's a good point. And the other point is, you can't outspend, the dinosaurs, or the, 800-pound gorillas, as they call them. So you got to do what's going to work and lean into what you got. So it sounds like you've been doing that. So tell me about TikTok real quick. I'm not on TikTok. If it makes it over to Twitter, I'll see some TikTok stuff. But you said you've done well on it. What does that mean? Do you get cases where they say, I saw you on TikTok, or, how does it work?
Yeah. So my first introduction to TikTok was during the lockdown my wife had on her phone. And I said, what the hell is that? And she said, it's TikTok. And I grabbed it for a minute. It was early on, kids dancing, people being silly. And I was like, it's the last thing I'm going to look at. And she was on it for a few months and I didn't pay no more attention to it just because I don't know. Thought I'm too old or I'm better than that. I'm going to read a book. I'm not going to just waste my time on this. But then she kept, sending me little videos that were, first they were kind of funny. Then some of them were more serious. And then I downloaded it just because there was nothing to do in the pandemic. It was boring, and I started scrolling and I didn't know at the time it was because their algorithm was different, but I did notice I'm getting fed. It ain't just kids being silly dancing. It's this guy talking about real estate investing, or it's this person talking about, history, interesting stuff. There's smart people on here. And then I was like, this isn't, I don't know, for whatever reason, I was like, this is not what I thought it was. And I just thought it was an opportunity to be an early adopter. So I started doing videos, and I was one of the there. I don't know who the first attorney was on there, but I was definitely one of the early people on there, and we kind of grew up following on there fast. So, I mean, I went from no followers to I got like 80 something thousand followers on there, but I had 50,000 probably in the first year. The first year I really blew up on there. And
Wow.
and did I get cases off the bat? No. The first year I don't think I got any. But I still remember the first case I got off that I directly know came from there. It was one of my paralegals who they were all making fun of me, like Josh is over here making TikToks or whatever. And I just kind of you have to be stubborn enough to believe in something sometimes, even if other people are telling you. That's advice for any business person. Don't be so stubborn that you won't listen, but be stubborn enough that sometimes you won't listen if you really believe in it. And I just believed in it. And one day, and I was doing all these food review videos and highlighting other people on there and having as much fun with it as I could, but hoping that it would help the business. And she answered the phone and I could hear her saying, "You hired us, why?" And then she covered her and looked at me and she rolled her eyes because she knew my head was going to grow a little bit because I was right about something finally. And she said, they saw you doing a video about tacos down the street in Hamilton, and they went there and it was good. So now you're their lawyer. I was like, I just like
Nice.
it worked. I had to like look at the sky, like, like it
Finally.
worked. And because you feel, and that's for anyone out there trying to do on social, it feels like you're yelling into the void for a long time. You ain't going to, it's like lifting weights or something. You're not going to get like Arnold Schwarzenegger probably ever. You're definitely not going to get like that in a week or a month or 6 months. Like it is a long, and social media is like that. You got to do post and stay consistent with it for a long time. And I've got more cases that I can't even track, but I do get cases where they directly tell me, they message me on there, or they tell me they watch the TikToks, and then I put the videos on all the other platforms too. So I mean, I know it helps. I cannot tell you how many cases directly a year I get from it, but I know. I mean, I'd go to court, and the bailiffs would be like, "Hey, we saw your video," like on Facebook. It might be on a different platform where everybody watches them on their own place, but. And then the other odd thing, I met a lot over the years, a lot more attorneys got on there. So I started meeting other attorneys in other states on there. And I've gotten cases referred to me from Wisconsin or Minnesota or Florida from other personal injury attorneys that are maybe sometimes on the younger side that see me on there. And they know I've been on there for a while. So then the last point, this is probably the most important point because everyone struggles to get employees. I think I got 25 team members. Three of my employees came off TikTok, which is like 10% of my staff, so
wow,
people are on there and younger people are the ones coming out of school and they're on TikTok and they see me on there. Like that guy doesn't seem like too bad a jerk. And he's down the road in Cincinnati or Hamilton, or he was eating lunch in Columbus and I'm going to Ohio State. They see you and they reach out to you. So
so they reach out, or do you post a job? Sometimes I'll post a job ad on TikTok, or they,
I'll do a video on TikTok if I'm hiring sometimes. Other times they've put in on the job on Indeed and we hired them through there. And I was like, check for Indeed. But then when I really talked to him, like, well, my dad kept telling me to follow you on TikTok and I did for 6 months. So like, yeah, that helps.
That's cool.
So others, I had a lady, one of my marketing assistants, I had a different lady in mind that was an influencer on TikTok. And I reached out to her, offered her a job. She said, no, I don't really want to do it, but my friend would be good at it. So she introduced me to her friend. I mean, like, it's basically just networking. And that's how I used to think social media is this and in-person networking is this, and you're either good at one or the other, or people don't want to do one or the other. I think people need to throw that out. Like networking is networking. And yeah, in-person's one thing, but me and you were getting to know each other here. It's not quite in person, but it's, TikTok or Facebook or whatever it is, social media, you can meet some really interesting people in there. And I'm leaning into it even more and more. This is more new, but I'm meeting local content creators, people in my neighborhood that are not lawyers that are doing other types of content, and I'm teaming up with them on stuff. And I'm excited about where that's going to take me. I've only been in that for a few, 2-3 months now. Been planning it longer, but I think there's a lot of opportunity for there. You can tap into other people's, their following. And if you're a small attorney, you can't afford TV ads. You might be able to afford the lady in your town that maybe she just has 5,000 followers, but they're all local. That's a lot of people who like somebody. And if they're vouching for you that you're a cool person, I don't know, what's that worth? I can't put a number on it. You tell me. Someone smarter than me maybe can, but it's not bad.
Yeah. So I've had, I'm not on TikTok. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. I've had some similar experiences. So one thing that I've noticed, there are a lot of I'm here in Atlanta. There's a lot of local attorneys that they never interact with the post at all. They don't comment. They don't like. There's no evidence that they saw it. But then I'll go out to some bar event or I'll see them somewhere, and then they mention it. Yeah, I see you on LinkedIn all the time or whatever. So for sure. And then also sort of I've met people like you and others all around the country. And it's just, I mean, it's enjoyable for me to get to know these people that otherwise I would not have, especially you, the hometown lawyer.
Yeah.
You know, were you going to be meeting somebody from, you know, Los Angeles or New York or wherever?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe, but chances are probably pretty low.
Yeah. And I know how I met. I mean, I can tie it back to how I'm talking to you through social media. I met Gary Sarner on social media, the radio guy. He introduced me to Steve. Steve introduced me to you. And
yeah.
This is how it goes. I mean, and it's no different than meeting someone. If I'd have met them in person, they'd introduce me to you. It's no different. And I think a lot of people get that. A lot of people in the legal space, you know, I think this is important for people who maybe think they're struggling on social media. They're not doing well enough because they're not going viral. You know, you probably are not going to go viral talking about your type of law. If you do go viral, I'd almost be worried that you probably said something that you shouldn't have, and people are making fun of you. Because it's not, if I'm talking about an uninsured motorist and I go viral, I'm going to be scared. What did I say? They're making fun of something bad. You know, it's not that interesting to everyone all the time.
You had something on your face. You know?
Yeah. Said something, you know, like something awful, you know, apolitical or something. Something wrong, off color, or it's not going to be probably a good thing. And people are like, well, my views on videos are only getting 300. Well, how long would it take you to talk to 300 people in real life? That would be like a whole year, you know, once a day. 300 people watch your videos. Don't look at it as a bad thing. Yeah, other Mr. Beast has 27 million. You're not him. He's giving away a bag of $1 million. You know, like you're talking about, you know, custody law in Utah. Everyone in the country doesn't care about that. But maybe if 80 people in your town watch one video, that just change the goalpost of what you think is success. You know, like I don't think that's bad. Like this podcast me and you are doing, most of the country probably is not going to be that interested in running a law firm because they don't need to do that. You know, so if you tell me in a week that this has been seen by 5 million people, I'm not going to think that's a good thing. I'm going to wonder why, you know? So people, you know, set reasonable expectations. You know, if people, I'm more worried about where my views come from than necessarily the total number. If I'm an Ohio lawyer, I'd rather have 1,000 views in Ohio than 1 million in Los Angeles. Doesn't really do me that good. Looks cool. It's a vanity metric. So, you know, think about those things when you're doing videos. I think is what a lot of people kind of sell themselves short of how well they're doing. I think a lot of times people are doing maybe better than they think.
Great point. Real quick, thanks for listening. If you're getting any value out of this podcast, please take 2 seconds to hit the subscribe button and leave a 5-star review. It would really mean a lot to me. Now back to the show. So I want to go back. So your current firm now, I did want to touch on this, is so you started it with a partner. And so that's a question I get a lot, you know, should I go by myself? Should I do a partner? You know, what was your thought process in going out with a partner versus just saying, you know what, I can do this?
Yeah, I mean, I knew I could kind of do it. I'm a bit of a social person, I think. I didn't want to just be alone. You know, you don't know if you're going to grow. I do think, you know, and me and my partner are very different people, personality and everything, skill set. But we do kind of agree, like where me and him align a lot on is like kind of like on the money thing. Like we're both pretty generous people, I think. Me and him, I've never went to him and been like, hey, we need to give, you know, Becky a raise. And we had like an argument. Like we're both like, yeah, or whatever. Or give some money to the Little League. Like, and amongst ourselves, we're not like real like jealous about money, you know. We disagree on other things, but I think if you kind of agree that you both are like good people at heart that are kind of like generous in general with each other, I think that's a good start. But like, you know, from the business side, like I handle basically the whole business. You know, like he's not a real business, you know, minded person. Like he's wants to be involved and know what's going on, but he's not going to like run with marketing or learn how to do the books and stuff as much as I have kind of, you know, the ability or the want to do. He wants to be a lawyer all the time. And that's what he, you know, so he's like 100% full-time lawyer all the time. I'm not a lawyer near as much, you know, anymore with, you know, I'm a lawyer all the time, but like, I'm not doing legal work all the time. We've hired other people and I'm trying to like drive, you know, kind of the business, the vision, you know, and that's how we've divided it. So I think, you know, as long as, I think it's partnerships can be difficult. I know a lot of people's partnerships fail, but I think, you know, it is good to know, like when I'm on vacation, if something blows up, at least someone here owns some of this place and will fall on the sword where I don't always have to, you know, and do the dirty work, you know, that only an owner really can. having multiples of those I think is helpful. And when my daughter got sick, I wanted to be a trial lawyer 100% all the time. And then she started going to hospital every year for a month or so, started like putting a dash on that dream. Like, man, I can't really just be delaying trials and big depositions all the time because my daughter's sick and I don't want to leave her in the hospital. So I just decided like, well, I got to get good at running a law firm. That way I can do it from the hospital and be with her, but not delay my client's day of court, So I kind of have to build a team that can litigate and do a lot of things I wanted to do without me. And then if I got time to hop on and be a second chair with them, that's what I'll do. But you got to, life throws you curveballs. You got to kind of like react to it. And I've really found that I like running a law firm as much as I did. I've turned this into my dream now. I used to want to be the biggest, baddest trial lawyer. Now I kind of want to be really, really good at running a firm and making it a good place to work for other people and good for the clients and all those things. So kind of shift the goals and shift, with life, you got to kind of take what it gives you sometimes and make the best of it.
I'll tell you, for me, running a firm, building a firm, growing a firm, there's always something new. It's like you never
can't get bored.
Because, early on, I wanted to be a trial lawyer years ago. And I remember early on when I'd go to depositions, like, oh, this is badass. And then I did my first hearing. I was like, man, that's great. I did my first trial. I was like, oh my God, this is exciting. But then after a while, I was like, yeah, the facts change, but
yeah,
the elements are sort of the same. And it just, for me, I needed something new. And so the thing with growing a business and a law firm, there's always something new. You're never going to figure it out. And the second you think you figured it out, like you said, that curveball comes and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah. And I get bored. I get bored easy. And so running a law firm keeps me from getting bored because there's always something new. And I get to wear a lot of different hats. I still practice law a little bit, but we're rehabbing a 140 or 50-year-old building right now. So I'm running point on that. And then I run point on marketing and then, helping hiring, building the team up. There's a lot of things that keeps you busy and they're all not easy. So you don't get bored running a business for sure.
Yeah. So, a couple of things just point out, that I think is important with partners, you got to trust them, and it's good that you guys are both generous, but then also it's sort of the division of skill sets, which it sounds like you guys have been good at sort of separating. So I want to move to, well, first thing, I have noticed your posts about that office building, and I think you found the signs underneath.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. That's really cool.
That was awesome. People were, there'd been a metal facade over it, these transom windows that were painted under, but no one knew they were painted, and it'd been covered, I think, since maybe the late 40s. So you'd have to be super, pretty old to even, remember it. Most people living or not. It's like 80 years ago, and we pulled that metal off, and I didn't know what we were going to find. It's kind of halfway looking at like this, kind of scared because it's already expensive enough, and they popped that off, and these just beautiful painted windows for the furniture store. I think they were painted in the 20s or 30s. I was just one of the happiest days probably of my life, honestly. I just couldn't believe like I found something that cool under there, and people were like stopping in the road looking at it that lived here, that drive by it all the time, like what the hell, So, but now I got to figure out how to fix them up, because we can't. It's all about furniture all the time, which doesn't really help me out too much in the law firm. But we're figuring out how to like kind of.
You got to do furniture law.
Yeah, it was cool though. It's fun, but there's fixing up all buildings. There's a lot of not fun stuff that comes along with it too. So kind of take your lumps. But I think it's giving back to the community, fixing up a building. I think it just further with the brand, like the guys out of town that have the big budgets, they may run more TV ads and more Google, but they're not fixing up the old building right by the courthouse and digging in roots deeper and deeper always, I think is kind of the goal.
So yeah, let's circle back to that. So you use the Hometown Lawyer, and I think maybe your website is Hometown Lawyers.
Yeah.
How did you come up with that? And, how does it work? Is it working for you? It sounds like it is.
Yeah. I don't have a placebo group or a control group where I tried something else to see if it would have worked better. I don't know, but we've grown and we're doing well, I think. Better than I thought we would, to be honest. I didn't know really where it would take us, but we got plenty of work and we're growing every year. When I started out, I didn't have any clients, So how I came up with it, I just wanted something that kind of spoke to a small town more. But I didn't want to say small town lawyer because small seems more like, dominion, like less powerful or something. I didn't want that, but I wanted something, because hometown could be New York City too. So it's not like pushing anyone away necessarily, but I think it has more of a warm feel of like a mid-sized town, like where I'm from, in Ohio. And it's memorable enough, but I didn't want it to be a joke. I didn't want to be like an animal or the pit bull or something that I didn't feel good about. Not that there's anything wrong with being that. I would do it if I had to feed my family. But I thought there was a good segment of the population that didn't want to hire an attorney at all. And I wanted to cater to those people. And I thought being a little bit less of a caricature may help me grab some of those people. That was my underlying theory with going with the something memorable, but not over the top, kind of like, people in the Midwest is different, like I don't think it would maybe work in Miami, the hometown lawyer. Now I might have to be a little bit more, I don't know, colorful or something, but like it works in Wilmington, Ohio, where, people work hard and there's farmers and, people don't really want to get an attorney at all, but if they are going to get one, they want to get one that's maybe not too flashy and just seems more everyday.
So you're based outside of Cincinnati. You've got the hometown lawyer as your sort of brand. I imagine you do have some cases in Cincinnati. I don't know, but how with the branding and sort of your focus in the small town, how does that shape your strategy in terms of growth and what you're going to do next? I'm just curious if you've said, all right, we're the hometown lawyer, we're focusing on our small town. Do you want to, it's almost like, back in the day, Walmart said, we're not going to the cities, right? They went to all the rural areas and they were sort of a joke to Kmart and Sears and all that. And they got the last laugh, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, I've read
until Amazon came around.
Yeah. And I'm not, I'm not a stranger to that story, the Dollar Generals, the Walmarts, it's been done outside of legal. And I thought about that, and I've thought of, looked at other business models of, and I just believed Hamilton, where I'm from, is not that small. So there's 65,000 people in my city, and the county has about 400,000. So it's not tiny at all. Not for Ohio, man. It's a pretty good amount of people. And there wasn't a ton of competition here. People in Cincinnati marketed here, people in Dayton marketed here, but not a lot of people were here. So I started here. People kind of told me that it was maybe too small. We started doing well here. And then I wanted to find other towns like mine. And then I started looking. There wasn't other towns in Ohio as big as mine without a bunch of competition. I was just lucky my hometown had less. So then I had to look smaller. So if you're going to go to Atlanta, if you do well in Atlanta, there's enough people there to do well and probably don't have to go anywhere else. If you're going to be a small town lawyer, your geography has to get a little bigger because you got to have population, and there's less populations, less densely populated. Long way of saying you got to be willing to drive more,
especially if you have a niche practice like you do versus doing everything that walks in, right?
Yeah. So you can be a niche practice in a big city. You can be a small town who only focuses small town. If you're a generalist, that's what most small town lawyers do. I was trying to bridge the gap between those. I wanted to be a niche practice because I think it's better for your clients and better for your everything, your procedures, if you only do one thing. But I wanted to do in a small town, but you can't do that in one small town. You got to be around. You got to spread your marketing in a broader, just a larger area. So I drive a lot. Yesterday I was 2 hours north. You don't have to maybe do that if you're in downtown Cincinnati all the time. So I market. I hire local people in different small towns all around our area, and I myself, I do a lot of digital marketing in all the area, obviously, and we do the highlight videos all over Southwest Ohio. But I get in my car and I go meet people all over the place too. I might be south of Columbus in a small town one day, and the next day might be north of Dayton, meeting other attorneys or meeting insurance people, whatever it is, networking. So I don't just, if you want to sit in one area, if you want to be a niche practice and sit in your office most of the time, you got to be in a big city. If you are going to be a small town lawyer, you got to drive around more. And not a lot of people want to do that. Not a lot of people maybe thought to do it. I don't know. I'm sure other people do it, but that's what I do. And we get cases, out in the sticks, and I like being out. I like being in small towns. It takes a while to break in. People are kind of, I wouldn't say distrusting of you, but they're like, why are you here? And, Circleville, Ohio, you're not from here. You're an hour and a half away. Like, yeah, and I explained it to them. And if you're a good person and you follow through your word, I think people warm up to you, because most of the people in small towns aren't niche practices. They don't even want to do a niche practice usually. So sometimes they like that you're there and you're helping them out with cases they were trying to handle. But you got to put in the face time and build trust with people.
So you've got your building that you guys are renovating, and so you're going to be there for sure. And you drive, so there's, you got to be within at least half day or whatever driving distance. Do you have any ideas of maybe expanding the actual like office footprint at some point of opening offices?
I have other offices, so at least I'll hire somebody. And when I say like I hired someone in Circleville, Ohio, and I have an office there. And I hired somebody in Eaton, Ohio, and I have an office there. Smaller office, one person, but and then we'll go up there to other people, and the office may go there too if they need to. But yeah, that's what I've slowly done, and so it helps with Google to have an office. You have someone there. I'll hire someone. What has happened? I usually hire them. Obviously, if I open a new office, the first one I did was Washington Courthouse, Ohio, tiny little town, middle of the state. I hired a lady who was from there. She was my age, lived there her whole life, so she knew everyone in town because it's a small town. She didn't have any legal experience, definitely none at all, definitely not in PI, because why would you? There's no PI lawyers in the town. But she knew everyone in town, so I hired her and I didn't have any cases there anyway, so it was fine. So I hired her basically just to be my outreach person. She helped me meet people for a year. And then when we started getting cases, then she slowly transferred to being a legal secretary. Now she's doing great with that, and I've done that multiple times. So the first time I hire someone in town, usually they don't have any experience because there's no other lawyers there really doing what I'm doing because it's a little town. But they know I'm looking for someone who's connected, and they help us. It helps with the marketing. And then some of them, if I lose them on the market side, the attorneys doing the legal steal them from me. But I got one I'm not letting them steal now. But because the outreach is a lot of work. I mean, social media and the networking, people think it's fun. It wears you down. You got to do it every day. I've been doing it every day for 4 or 5 years, and there's a reason not everybody does it because it's not easy.
Feed that beast. You got to feed that beast.
You got to keep busy, but it's fun and it keeps you creative. Every year I'm thinking of I usually thinking of a new video series or a new outreach method we could do every year that we try to implement, because I guess I want to stay ahead, and it's fun to come up with new things.
So we've talked about the social media. You do that. Definitely TikTok, probably the others. You also have a podcast. Let's talk about that. Tell me about what's it called, and tell me your strategy or your approach for that.
Yeah, we just call it Around Town with the Hometown Lawyer, and then the short that it's usually 15 to 30 minutes. And then we have the shorter one. It's called the Around Town Minute. It's usually a minute or two. And that I'm not in that. It just has my branding, and it's all about whatever small business we're highlighting that week. But the podcast, we go to them wherever they are, if they have an office, or sometimes we'll meet outside depending on the topic. And it's not about law at all. It's just highlighting a local person or some kind of community organization. I've done it with all sorts of people. One of the last ones I did was the city of Hamilton has a professional arborist. We're like a tree city. They got a grant, and we have a bunch of trees, and he takes care of them. And I met him out, and he told me about this ginkgo tree we were standing in front of. He picked a good tree, he knew all the stuff. And we just talked to him for about half hour about what he does, about his life, about trees. I don't really prepare too much for it. I just let it go where it goes. I've done it one with the guy who writes parking tickets in a town. I've done it with local politicians. I've done it with, other people who are big in social media in Cincinnati. I got one I'm going to probably do with a judge pretty soon that just retired. And then nonprofits, people helping, anything positive, the art center across the street I've done. I do about one a month of those, but I probably do 15 of the short ones a month. And so I have a videographer, and then my outreach person, she'll set them all up. So how it works is like, she'll set up a day like, hey, last week 2 weeks ago, we did Hillsboro, Ohio, small town, about an hour from where I'm at. No, about an hour and 20 minutes from where I'm at. And so we drove there, and she had all through the Chamber of Commerce. She works it ahead of time. We had 13 small businesses set up that day, all in a line, and we did a highlight video for every single one of them. And I went to every single one of them, shook their hand, talked to them while we did it, told them, and they're all excited for these videos. So we just posted the last one, and then all the other people know, like, when's ours coming out? So it's like, probably every other week for the rest of the month, I got videos in Hillsboro, Ohio. And I've only went there one day with that. I went there more, but with that intention. So now we got 15 videos. I don't need more content there for a while, and they can repost them. So I'm probably good there for a year or two. And so we're always looking for we'll call it like we're Mount Sterling Day. We got that coming out, another small town. So I'll go there all day and shoot videos. So about once a month we do that. And then we do other ones in Hamilton. I've always got a couple going off because that's local to me. But it's work, and it's a lot of time out of the office.
It's great. I'm sure it's fun getting to know these people, but the goodwill that you are creating, it's probably just incredible. And back to what you said earlier, it's not an immediate tomorrow. It's a compound effect.
And it's hard to track if it's ever working.
Yeah. And if you ever want to run for statewide political office, man, you're setting the
long-term, like 2040 governor run or something like that. My wife says that I tease her about that all the time, and she absolutely does not want me to get in politics. But I don't.
Well, hopefully things will have settled down and it's back to being boring again. And
yeah, it's fun though. I mean, I obviously you start caring about that. I mean, I really cared about my hometown, and then I started going to other small towns, and I start seeing my hometown in them, and I see people that are from this little town, they care about it, and then you start caring about it, or I do. And I just like my state more now that I've been doing this. And I see towns, some of them need to like have some development, others are further along and they're doing great, and I see the progress that's being made. And we're doing a little bit piece to help, I think. And it's fun. It's hard to track, but people that ask me, does it work? I know it does deep down. Can't always prove exactly my ROI like I could on a local service ad, but I'm never going to regret doing this. Like when I'm an old guy, I'm going to be like, I'm going to look back and be like, man, me and the camera guy drove around Ohio once a month for all those years, highlighting people. I think it's kind of fun. And I think people realize like it's coming from a good place. And then I think that's how it works. It can't be fake. You have to, if this sounds like an awful idea to you, then don't do it. You're not going to like it. Do something, find some other way to do it. Like people write for the ABA, those long, beautiful written things. That sounds awful to me. It sounds like a good idea for some people, but I don't want to do that. And I'm not going to do that because I would hate doing it. So you got to find something that works for you.
That's great advice. And it just dawned on me, if it's not politics and it's not law, you could have a TV show. It's a TV show, Nothing. I see, it's like I see these in small town where they go around renovating houses. You got a building under your belt. You could,
yeah, for sure,
revitalize the state.
And I'm lucky in Ohio. There's, Ohio has a lot of like little mid-sized towns, like cities. Every county has like a little old courthouse and a lot of old buildings. And now West Coast I've been to, I like the West Coast for other reasons, nature and stuff, but they don't have as many small towns as this side of the river. So I'm kind of lucky that about every half hour there's a new little mini town with a courthouse and a downtown little area, some nicer than others, but there's just a lot of little places to kind of explore, which probably not too exciting when you're in your 20s, maybe if you want to be in a big city. But like, now I'm a dad, I'm in my 40s. It's kind of cool to go to a little town of 5,000 and read the little history plaque and, make a dad joke.
That's what we do, right?
Yeah.
So a question I like to ask folks, as you've been doing this for a while and as you look back, any lessons learned, and it could be something that you wish you had done sooner, or maybe something you wish you hadn't done at all. As you look back, is there anything you can point to?
I mean, I wish I could. Back to the beginning, I wish I could have got started sooner with it. But then at the same time, I don't know if I'd have been the same person doing what I'm doing now if I had. I'm probably sure I probably wouldn't have. So I really regret that. I think I would have. I'm sitting in my first office we bought right now, and it got way too small, way too fast. Because you want to be a little conservative, so don't doubt what you can do. Maybe I wish I would have bought the bigger building earlier and not had to have two, and now I've bought that one. I think it's big enough, but I don't know, 5 or 10 years, I'll probably be kicking myself for buying one that's too small again. I think I've learned my lesson and bought a bigger one, but we'll see, so don't doubt. Find a mentor. I found a mentor pretty quick, probably 2 years in. That was really good. But I wish I would have had, there's different mentors too. I've got legal mentors that help me become a better legal practicing lawyer. But then there's mentors that are good business people, and my mentor is not even an attorney. He runs a law firm, as a COO. And I have many mentors, but he's one of my main ones. And I wish I'd have found him earlier because he just taught me more than law school ever could or would about running a law firm, because he knew the nuts and bolts and the numbers and, things that, when he first started talking, I was like, holy shit, like this dude's like, I never heard anyone talk that way about what I was trying to run. And I knew I got to be like that. I got to be like that guy. And I'm trying to be, still. And, so I think finding a mentor, if I could have found one a little sooner with the business, chops, you have to look outside your town. Probably I found someone in a different state, but other than that, I don't know. I don't really regret it. I think things are moving along pretty good. And, I think I wish I would have gotten done. I started videos quicker than most people, but if I'd have done it 2 or 3 years earlier, it would have even been even better. Other than that, not a whole lot.
Tends to be That tends to be a mistake that I make a lot. Is I wish I just started whatever it is had started earlier.
Yeah, I make quick decisions. One of the things that's helped me, like I will make decisions and just start charging forward. Sometimes I didn't think it through 100%, but like I think a lot of successful people, it's better than like just sitting around thinking about things forever. Too many lawyers I know just think about doing something for 5 years and never do anything. I would rather just do something kind of like, not I'm talking about on a case, but with my business, like my marketing, I'd rather do something kind of dumb than nothing. I mean, at least you're trying and you'll learn from that mistake, so don't be scared to, do something you think other people may not like. When I started doing videos, I mean, I'm in a pretty conservative area, small towns, Ohio. Lawyers aren't doing videos or marketing at all most time, and I'm out here doing TikToks. It was kind of scary a little bit, but most of it's been positive. I mean, you're going to catch a hater here and there, but as long as you're being a good person, look yourself in the mirror. People that need to find you will find you, that will support you, and they will. I will. If anyone ever needs help, they can reach out to me. I'll do anything I can to help another attorney that's trying to market themselves. I mean, I'll spend much time with you as I can trying to make it easier, and people have helped me. I try to help as many people as I can behind us.
Well, that's great advice. So, last question: as you sit here now, what's your vision for the next 5, 10, 15 years for your firm, for your life, however broad you want to make it?
Yeah, I mean, I want to be the choice for small town Ohio's law firm. I think that's in personal injury first, but I think long term, maybe more things. Look, small towns don't have enough lawyers. It's despite what everyone tells you, there's too many attorneys. You go to a small town or rural community, they don't have enough lawyers. They don't have any young lawyers mostly. If they do, they're a prosecutor or a public defender. They're not out in public, private, doing any kind of civil. So I think I want to bridge that gap and access to attorneys. And I think it's a good thing for society to have access to attorney, but it's also a good business opportunity. And, that'll probably keep me busy for a while if I want to be being every little small town in Ohio, it'll probably keep me busy for a minute, I think.
Yeah, probably enough to go to the end.
Yeah. Maybe branch out, help some other people do it, kind of a version in there's other states that, you could do similar things.
Well, you could franchise the name, man. You get that thing trademarked if you haven't already.
Yeah, I've thought about franchising. I mean, right now I'm the marketing is what we've been talking about. That's what it's fun to me, but I really care about doing a good job on the cases and having a good operations and a good legal outcomes for my clients. And that it's not, that's behind the scenes. Everyone doesn't see that all the time. All the policies and procedures and all the technology to make sure nothing's getting missed. That's been really hard work. And so I don't ever want to grow so fast that I don't want to be a mill where quality drops. So kind of like try to grow as fast as I can without that. So, balancing the two, because I want to do a good job on both ends, and not a lot of people figure that out. I think there's a lot of people that are really good lawyers, not so good at business. Some people are great at business and maybe not so good of outcomes all the time. I want to there's some people out there doing both, and I want to be one of those. I mean, and it's they're not always, I think long term, if you do both, it's better for your business, but it's a balance, and it doesn't just do itself, because you got a lot of cases doesn't mean you're going to do well. You gotta take care of them. It's a never ending battle. I mean, it doesn't really get a lot easier, I don't think, from the people, my mentors that are bigger than me says, I'll be doing that until it ends, I guess.
Yeah, finding that balance is a challenge. You're never going to find it. You may have it for a brief moment, and then it gets out of balance again. But yeah, that's the goal. But Josh, man, this has been awesome. You got some really cool things you're doing. I appreciate you coming on and sharing it. Anybody out there that wants to find you, what's the best way?
Yeah, I mean, if you go on any of the, on TikTok, I'm the Hometown Lawyer. YouTube, the Hometown Lawyer. Instagram, the Hometown Lawyer. On my Facebook, it's just Josh Hodges, because I had that before and I didn't want to change it. My grandma will be asking me what happened to her, my name, I guess, or whatever. So I just left that my personal name, thehometownlawyers.com. That's the website. Reach out to me if young lawyers, anyone ever, or anyone with a good idea or anything. I go to conferences. I'm speaking. I'll shout out when I'm going to the lunch hour legal marketing one out in Vegas in September. I'll be speaking about some of this community outreach and social media stuff I do at that conference. So yeah, don't be a stranger. Reach out to me. I love when people do that. You always learn something from them too. They call you, maybe you're thinking you're going to help them, but I almost always get a little nugget from them too, and put that in my arsenal and try to spin it into something I can do too. It's it's my favorite part of running law firms, learning from people and helping people. It's a two-way street.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping to make it to that conference. I got to see if I can swing it, but it's on my list. So hopefully I'll get there. And if I don't see you before that,
maybe see you
I'll
out there.
Get to meet you in person.
Love to.
So I appreciate this, and enjoy your weekend. For the timing wise, we got 4th of July's this weekend. So enjoy your weekend and have a good time. And thanks again for coming on.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Founding Partner Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts to stay up to date on the latest episodes. You can also connect with Jonathan on LinkedIn and check out the show notes with links to resources mentioned throughout our discussion by visiting www.lawfirmgc.com. We'll see you next time for more origin stories and insights from successful law firm founders.